actually convert to specialized pro-resolving mediators, or at least they should. They convert as well from fish oils as alpha-linoleic acid, flaxseed goes to EPA and DHA, not resolving inflammation. It took modern functional medicine 20 years to grasp this. This has been out a year. I only hope everybody understands it and grasps it quicker. Essentially, specialized pro-resolving mediators are the next step after fish oil. They're fractionated fish oils. It's an insufficient conversion in most of your clients right now. SPMs are very interesting in that they're signal. They actually signal receptors, G protein coupled receptors on the cell membrane that tell macrophages. Everybody know what a macrophage is, right? They're the guys to determine the inflammatory process. Leukocytes and neutrophils come in, they're acute. The macrophage comes in and says, I can't handle it. Let me go get some more neutrophils and leukocytes, etc. They signal macrophages to say it's time to resolve inflammation. Remember, our body has its own compass. It's just knocked off through everyday life. So interesting that SPMs suppress further immune recruitment and actually promote tissue repair. So here's an interesting initiation of inflammation. Essentially, inflammation goes up too high typically, and never resolves. You add an SPM, and there's a resolution. Actually, SPMs allow not only for resolution, but a homeostasis between pro-inflammation and resolution of inflammation. So think of this, Rob cooks. Rob cannot cook. However, I do something good. Think of the fire on my stove that I'm going to use as a metaphor to cook. And I turn it on, I cook the food, and I shut it off. Food's perfect. Pro-inflammation, initiation, resolution of inflammation. Nice, right? What about the other time where I turn the stove on too high and I burn the food? That's a problem, right? Inflammation went up too high. Then, I take the food off after burning all the tissues and the food around it. I turn it down, but I can't shut it off. It's just burning a little bit. What do the 3 other pilot lights do? What happens to them? They're hot. That's all your patients right now. It's meta-inflammation, low-level chronic inflammation, which is the most deleterious thing to your health. SPMs allow inflammation. They balance it to end it. So here we go. What we found out is we did some studies, and we found out that leukocytes and neutrophils enter in the site, secreting pro-inflammatory signals that will release cytokines and go down the PGE2 pro-inflammatory pathway. This lipid mediator class switch during resolution reduces pro-resolving mediators. Essentially, they now increase. It changes the macrophage to a resolution. By changing the macrophage and signaling the macrophage for resolution, we decrease the incidence of PGE2. When PGE2 gets decreased, we got what we call a knockdown effect, and the liver does not release C-reactive protein, which is a tissue inflammatory marker, which actually also releases plaque. Now that quiet is actually very golden at this point, even for a New York guy who likes noise at night. How many of you guys have just been motivated with this? I didn't create it. I wish I did, man. It would be great. We'd all be eating, sushi all day long. I'm just reiterating the literature. So SPMs. Here's another study that came out this year, found out that SPMs actually reduce cytokines, chemokines, and different kinds of matrix metalloproteinases. How about for muscle tissue? Muscle tissue, interesting, that exercising too much leads to progression of unresolved immune response. We know that, and the tissue gets damaged. You add SPMs, and the tissue heals. Pain could be a symptom of chronic inflammation. So we've been lost. We've always talked about acute and chronic inflammation. We forgot to talk about the resolution of inflammation. Here's your takeaway. Inflammation is an active process. It is not a passive process. You actively have to work with it. It does not resolve on its own. How's that for a takeaway? Are we doing all right? We're in our ring. Do we have some Monday morning takeaways? So if I would ask you one thing that you're going to apply and start on Monday, what would you guys tell me right now? Gut health. What else? Don't be afraid. I won't chop your head off. Inflammation. Anything else? Proteolytic enzymes between meals. What else? Probiotics. Gut health. Good bugs. What else you got?
And SPM.
SPM. Specialized pro-resolving mediators. Resolve inflammation. Ooh.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Absolutely. Can't go wrong with vitamin D, the hormone D.
4 R's.
The 4 R's, which we now made 6 R's.
Yes.
Right? Those R's are really easy. Remove.
Can you reduce inflammation with a proper diet?
Absolutely. Diet is a potentiator for inflammation.